Do you begrudge my generosity? The Hebrew, the Aramaic, would be more muscular. The words in the Greek are, is your eye evil because mine is good? The green-eyed monster. Envy. A soul who has been working constantly for the Lord might have some of that if you find someone at the last minute, the 11th hour of which the Gospel speaks. Suddenly, in one last moment of ignition, conquering and gaining that for which he had to struggle for many years. One thinks, for instance, of those who, after the Nuremberg trials, made a confession and obtained grace. One thinks of those who have been experts in crime and suddenly are given a rude awakening and come back with a vengeance, making up for lost time. But the other mode also, the safer one, those of the generations gone by, fidelity from birth until death in a land like Ireland, should not be ignored either. And Our Lady came to knock to people of that kind, people who were struggling, really struggling, but they clung on to the Holy Rosary, and when they could get it, to the Holy Sacrifice. Thousands upon thousands were sent to Barbados, thousands tried to get to America, thousands died of famine, but they clung on to the Holy Rosary. They knew that the Mass was precious, and they knew the difference between the new and the old. I knew well Ray Reynolds, who, through the power of the Holy Spirit, found his faith with great power at a certain age and came back with a vengeance to the ignited practice thereof, full on, and wanting to gain others also. A good example of those who themselves find the Lord after having had the proposal of a life of grace in childhood. But many in Ireland do have that experience. They are reignited personally, positively and fully. And these are precious in the Lord's hands. He was very close to his grandmother, Emily Kane, that generation precisely who always had the faith and kept it right through and died peacefully in it. And on this day, the feast of Our Lady of Knock, to which she was very devoted, Ray was there at her bedside as she was petering out and sang in her ear the hymn of Our Lady of Knock. Here she is, Emily Kane, his grandmother, and Ray there next to her. And on the anniversary of her passing, he was in Launceston Hospital. I had been there, I had seen him, and he was there, again, fully on and giving testimony for the Lord in his ward. wasn't shy. And he was preparing to watch her anniversary Mass, it was 1 year exactly, on the webcam of the parish. And it seems that his dear grandmother came for him at that point, for he also went into eternity unexpectedly quickly at that point. And I was moved at the funeral which we had in Navan, in St. Mary's, how when his body was being carried out, all in the full church were singing Our Lady of Knock. As it happens, another member of the family died on this day, the feast of Our Lady of Knock, even though at that time it was not yet declared such. It was somebody in the infantry in the war, the Great War. Private Patrick Masterson. It would be his 105th anniversary on this day as well. Apparently he had a very good death. He would help others. He would sacrifice himself. And there was a lot of hidden sanctity in those trenches. So he was killed in action at the age of 37. He would have been Ray's great-great-granduncle. And we know that Ray was a help in the area. If something needed to be organised, one just phoned Ray. And he would organise processions through Navan, and when it was fully organised, he would inform the Gardaí that it was taking place. He would be keen on rosaries. And there he is, with the rosary around him. And the doves there beside him. His grandfather, that's Emily's widower, Benny, released a dove at his graveside, and it flew back. It landed on the canopy over Ray's grave and posed. So, a little sign the Holy Spirit was involved and pleased with what had happened. Organising rosaries is under the heavens blessing big time. And here we have the kind of thing that Ray would like to organise. It was after his death, about a year later, rosary at the coast. Our Lady asked at Fatima each time that the rosary be recited every day. The Irish found it very hard to obtain the sacraments, but they always clung to the rosary. And the family rosary was there until this last generation. It's had to compete with powerful objects in the home, notably the television, but now also other screens and devices. It's difficult to get the calm needed and to unclutter the house so the rosary may happen quietly. And yet, it could be the most important part of the family day. Our Lady didn't insist at Fatima on daily assistance actually at the Holy Sacrifice, probably because if she did, people would have the excuse, well, I can't because of my work or the distance. She did ask for this. And we know also that she wants it said well. It's important that if we are engaging with heaven, we do so both in the liturgy and in popular devotion with heart, mind and even body. The old way in Ireland of saying the rosary in the family was to be on one's knees and using a chair to place one's elbow on. And thus one took away the weight to some extent. Now people tend to sit. It's a pity because the body does enter into it. The charismatics have recuperated the body. Even Eastern spirituality has it, and we need to be aware of it. For to presume that we can pray just with the mind alone is to become neo-Protestant. The fullness of our Catholic faith is complete and incarnational. And Our Lady, in coming to Ireland, did so in humility but yet in glory as our Queen. But she did remind us discreetly that the centre was the Lord and the centre was the Holy Sacrifice. And the only moving part of that 2-hour-long apparition was the angelic throng. For 2 hours the angels were encircling the Lamb on the throne. And that is a reminder that every time we come into church, we are coming into a cushion of angels, protecting, adoring, and as we have in the Apocalypse, coming with that Hagios, 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 holy, 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 incessantly on their invisible lips. And we must do the same. The wobble is not enough. The genuflection is made with heart and soul and body. In the old orders, the Carthusians and the Cistercians, it predates the genuflection and it has the profound bow. It seems that genuflection came in with the Crusades because with their armour it was easier for them to bend the knee than to bow profoundly. In the East, you have the proskynesis and the whole body enters into it. They're not shy of using the body. It would be well on this feast of Our Lady of Loch to be aware that we cannot explain just in human terms the demise, the demise of the Catholic Church in Ireland without being aware of the importance of powerful dark forces. The same is true on a larger scale, the Church at large. There is something sinister attacking and using actually instruments from within to attack even more subtly. So we need to be aware that the little people, the simple people of old, perhaps in their simplicity had a greater understanding of things. For pride, after all, is a participation in the original sin of Satan. And when pride enters the house of God and says, I will not serve, that is, I will not obey the rubrics, the instructions, but do my own thing, and I will be noisy in the house of God, and I will rain upon him, then we can see how clever the enemy of mankind is. When we attack the sacred, we are playing the enemy's game. And it was to the youngest canonized saint, not a martyr, in the church, that Our Lady came with great insistence, little Jacinta of Fatima, asking that she get this message out before she died. Her divine Son did not want people talking in church. As we
truth I try to find. Here I stand with John the teacher, and with Joseph at your side, and I see the Lamb of God on the altar glorified. Golden arose, Queen of Ireland, all my cares and troubles cease, as we kneel with love before you, Lady of Love, my Queen of Peace. And the Lamb will conquer, and the woman cloud in the sun will shine her light on everyone. And the Lamb will conquer, and the woman cloud in the sun will shine her light on everyone. Golden arose, Queen of Ireland, all my cares and troubles cease, as we kneel with love before you, Lady of Love, my Queen of Peace. Lady of Love,